It was a fluke that I was part of the in crowd in college. It just happened that the star athlete was a friend of mine from high school, and knowing him got me in with the jocks and the best-looking girls and into the coolest fraternity. We had a blast for 4 years, and I hated to see this part of my life end, so I sort of stretched out my schooling, going for my PhD, even after I married Sharon. Sharon was the best thing that had ever happened to me. She was dark-haired, with enormous dark eyes, and a great body, though she had a slight tendency to put on weight, which I was always on her about. I was no prize physically, slightly built and, at 5 feet 7 inches, a couple of inches shorter than Sharon was, though she diplomatically avoided wearing heels and even slouched a bit to make up for that. But all my friends were studs, and I learned from them to be loud and assertive and very much in charge around the house. Truth is, I was a bit of a jerk sometimes. Most of my buddies were still single, and I often acted like I was, too, even though Sharon was supporting me financially and did everything to deserve my devotion and consideration. But I was always taking off for impromptu football weekends and bossing her around. And, like I said, I was a bit cruel about her weight problem. I'd pinch the flesh on the back of her arm or her love handles and tell her how disgusting it was to have a fat, ugly wife and that she'd better shape up or I'd have to look elsewhere. I know what a creep I was. The truth is, I always felt that she was way out of my league, and putting her down made me feel a bit more secure somehow, as if lowering her self-esteem would keep her from realizing she could do much better. The turning point came just before I finished classes. I'd gone on a road trip with some buddies and we'd gotten pretty blasted, and I'd spent the night with some girl I met in a bar. I don't think I'd know her now if I bumped into her, but one of my friend's girlfriends found out about it and told Sharon, and she confronted me in tears. She was completely heartbroken, and I felt awful, really terrible. I hated myself for what I'd done, but I just didn't feel like I could show weakness or remorse or take the blame. Insecurity again, I suppose. Instead, I blustered and sputtered and turned it back on her. Yeah, well, I wish I hadn't done that, but you've gotten so fat and boring I'm ashamed to even be seen with you these days. A guy's gotta do what he can. It's up to you to keep my interest, babe, and you've been slipping. It was vicious, and it wasn't what I felt. I was parroting the kinds of things my friends would say when there weren't any women around. Utter nonsense, but I could almost make myself believe it, and it was easier than taking responsibility for my deplorable behavior. I really expected Sharon to leave me after that, and I wouldn't have blamed her at all. Especially since she had just inherited a big house in the country and a lot of money from her grandmother. She could start a new life without me so easily. I would have missed her terribly and known I had lost the best thing in my life, but in a way, it would have been a relief not being married to someone who I knew was too good for me. Instead, she decided to try to repair our marriage. Charlie, you were right. Not to have the fling that was horrible, but that I should take better care of myself for you. I've just been working so hard lately, and I have become a little boring, talking about work, and I have let myself go just a bit. But I want us to have another chance. I think we should move into Grandma's house and start over. It will take you some time to write your thesis, and that's a great place to work. I can still commute to the office from there. And to the gym, too. You watch me, I'm going to get in great shape again, just for you. I felt so relieved, and also a little uneasy. I knew I didn't deserve this second chance, but I also knew that I didn't want to lose her. Besides, my life at college was over now, my buddies were moving on, and, after my thesis was done, I'd be looking for work. This move just might be for the best. Well, Sharon kept her word and really did get in shape. At first, it was just running and jazzercise, but then she really got into lifting weights. Before I knew what was happening, she was a full-fledged bodybuilder, with a weight room and a fridge full of special drinks and food. She was really into it. I couldn't complain because she firmed up nicely and our sex life had never been better. It was kind of ironic, though, because I felt less and less inclined to work out myself. I just didn't seem to have the energy anymore. I guessed it was all that reading I was doing for my thesis enforced inactivity. I was also embarrassed to realize that I was getting a little pudgy. I was eating the same as always, but I was definitely putting on flesh here and there. It was a little weird, actually, because I didn't seem to be gaining much weight, and I was still using the same belt notches as before, had even gone in one or two, but some of my pants were getting so tight in the butt that I couldn't even get them on, and, well, I figured it was just my imagination, but it was like I had man boobs or something. I mean, my chest was getting kind of fleshy here and there. But Sharon didn't seem to notice or mind that I was getting flabby as fast as she was getting firm, so I didn't let myself worry about it. When the thesis was done, I'd start working out again, maybe even with Sharon's weights. Little did I know that these changes were all part of her revenge. Ever since we moved into the new house, she'd been lacing my orange juice with high doses of female hormones and tranquilizers. She didn't drink orange juice herself, so all she had to do was spike the bottle. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The months rolled by, and Sharon began to get a little too fit for my taste. I mean, she didn't exactly look masculine, but she definitely had more muscles than I liked to see on a woman. I made a few comments at first, but then she started inviting her bodybuilding girlfriends over to use her weight room, and I guess I just got used to it. Besides, whenever I'd tease her about being in Amazon or something, she'd pinch my flab and say something like, "Ah, you want me to be nice and soft like my hubby?" This kind of comment always made me blush, especially when she said it in front of her muscular friends, and I didn't have a comeback anyway. Whatever I said, I would be acknowledging that I was soft, which I guess I was. Besides, a couple of her friends were enormous, bigger even than my jock buddies at school, with muscles on top of muscles, and I didn't want to get into a fight with Sharon while they were around. As time went by, I just couldn't seem to focus on my thesis. I wondered if I was going to be one of those perpetual students. It was a bit depressing, really. Sharon seemed so happy with her new friends and her job and her new interests. But I didn't have friends anymore and didn't know what to do with myself. Sometimes, I just sit on the couch while she was at work and have a good cry. I never used to cry, but I just felt so bad about myself. I was getting so fat and lazy, all I wanted to do was eat and watch television. Of course, there's nothing much on during the day, so I'd watch talk shows and the shopping networks to ogle the models, of course, though they did have some nice things for sale sometimes that either Sharon might like, and, of course, soap operas. I couldn't believe how interesting some of the stories were. I would get so engrossed that it made me feel better, took me away from my problems, I guess. One day, Sharon came home from work to find me draped across the couch, watching the tube, and she started muttering to herself. I eventually realized that it was about me. "You got a problem?" I said. "Well, yes, Charlie, I do have a small problem. I work hard all day and come home to a filthy mess. It seems like the least you could do is pick up after yourself a little. Or maybe even do some of the cleaning and laundry since you've got so much time on your hands." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Surely you don't expect me to do woman's work? Whoops. Woman's work. It's just plain work, and I've got more than my share of that as it is. If you got off your fat ass once in a while and did something around here, your ass might not be quite so big. Who did she think she was talking to? That was quite enough time to put her in her place, I thought. I struggled off the couch and walked right up to her. She was still wearing her heels, which gave her about 5 inches on me, but I wasn't going to be intimidated by a mere woman. "Listen, little girl, don't you ever talk to me that way again or I'll..." I raised my open hand as if I was about to smack her. What she did in response was completely unexpected and, looking back on it, changed my life forever. She reached over with both hands and grabbed my tits. Her grip was so strong it forced a tear out of each eye. My whole being was spellbound. It was as if she was holding vital organs, like my heart or my testicles rather than just chest flesh. It was a very strange sensation. I felt completely subdued. I couldn't move a muscle. She peered down at me and said, "You know, if you grab a rooster by the bill, he will thrash and scratch until he's free. But if you grab a hen by the bill, she'll just sit there until you decide to release her." We stood nose to nose, or rather, my nose to her chin. For the first time, I realized just how much bigger and stronger than me she was. It was more than a little scary. I felt overshadowed, intimidated, utterly submissive. Like two lizards who puff up and try to intimidate each other until one acknowledges its inferiority, deflates, and backs down. I was the loser, the weaker, the one who backed down. But still my pride rebelled against what was so clear on a deeper level. I tried to puff myself up again and, in a desperate attempt to regain my status, I challenged her to arm wrestle. She gave me a derisive smirk and rolled her eyes. "You just don't get it, do you? Okay, I'll arm wrestle you. But if I win, you'll have to accept some changes around here." I swallowed hard, but wouldn't let myself back down again. I convinced myself that I would win from sheer willpower. We sat at the kitchen table, she grinning at me as I tried to find a position that would give me the advantage. Finally, I felt ready and nodded. Within half a second, my right hand was flat against the table. I got misty-eyed and my voice broke a little. "Left arm?" She sighed and pinned me even more quickly. I buried my face in my weak little arms on the table and cried like a baby. She began to stroke my hair and spoke to me, softly but firmly. "Okay, here's how it is. You have always looked down on women, you just called me a little girl. Well, from the standpoint of strength and courage, you are the little girl now. All you seem to respect is size and strength, and I've got you beat there, so until you can beat me at arm wrestling, your name is Charlene, do you understand?" I couldn't respond, I just sobbed more loudly. "You will keep house for me, Charlene, that means cooking, cleaning, mending, laundry, everything a woman is supposed to do, according to you. And there will be no more pants, or haircuts, or going places without my permission. I am in charge now, you will do as I say or else." I gathered myself enough to speak. "What are you saying?" "I won't do any of those things." "You can't make me do anything." She grabbed both my hands in one first and pulled me across the table like a wet dish rag. "You will do as I say, or I'll spank the living daylights out of you, Charlene." I was reduced to whining. "You can't do that, that's spousal abuse." "I'll report you." "Well, you go right ahead and mince on down to the police station, and you tell them that your mean wife is spanking you on your tush and you can't make her stop because she's bigger and stronger than you are. They'll probably just laugh at you, but if they don't, I'm sure the case will make the papers and your old buddies will read all about it." I was trapped, and then she took away my car keys and dragged me upstairs and forced me to stuff all my male clothing into plastic bags to be thrown away. Then she took me to the guest room, my room, from now on, she said, and opened the closet door and pulled out the dresser drawers to show me my new wardrobe. She had been planning this for some time, I realized. This was not a whim that she would forget in a day or two. "You love watching television, Charlene. Well, you'd better pay close attention because it's up to you to learn how to dress like a woman, to do your own makeup, to fix your hair just like the little housewife that you are. And if I come home and find you looking anything but prim and pretty, you'll be on my knee in no time. Oh yes, there will be no sex until you can beat me at arm wrestling and show me you're a man again." "This is ridiculous, you're crazy," I said. "No crazier than you were when you had an affair and excused it because I was fat and boring." Well, Charlene, now you're the fat, boring housewife and you'd better make yourself gorgeous and agreeable to me or you'll be out on your fat fanny. She gave me a wicked snack on my bottom and I started crying even more loudly. Now get into your new clothes right away and get to work on my dinner. I tried to collect myself, lowered my voice, and with all the authority I could muster looked her in the eye and said, "Now listen, Sharon. There's absolutely no way I'm going to put on a dress." Sharon was unimpressed. "Okay, Charlene. This time I'll put it on for you." She picked me up like I was a doll and threw me on the bed, stripping my clothes off of me and putting me into a bra, panties, pantyhose, slip, and full-skirted dress. Then she buckled shoes with 2-inch heels on my feet and walked me to the full-length mirror. She stood behind me, holding my wrists so I couldn't pull away or pull off my dress, supporting me when I teetered in my new shoes. Finally, I stopped struggling and she loosened her grip. Then she ran her hands over me, as if I had a woman's body underneath my pretty clothes. She cupped my breasts and my bottom in her hands and smoothed my clothes over my curves, as if I really was a woman. I couldn't let her know this, but it felt really good, the clothes, her caresses. I had to admit that the dress fit me much better than my own clothes did. It seemed to be big enough in all the right places and held onto me just right. For a second, I liked what she had done to me, but I could never accept the new balance of power in our relationship. I was determined to fight her tooth and nail. Of course, I could run away, though I guess it would have to be in women's clothes now. But I didn't want to leave Sharon. I still loved her and, the truth was, I was afraid of being alone. No home, no money, no job. The house and car were hers, after all. And I liked our life together. I just needed to become the man of the house again. There were a lot of spankings over the first couple of weeks. Really vicious spankings that left my bottom beat red and me in tears. I couldn't sit properly for days on end. I finally decided that, maybe if I cooperated just a little, she would get tired of the game. So I actually started dressing myself in my new clothes in the morning, without her help. And after my soaps were over, I'd do a little straightening up and pop something in the microwave for her dinner. When she got home, she would notice the improvements and compliment me, but then she would notice that I hadn't vacuumed, or color-coordinated my shoes, or set my hair, and I would get a terrible beating once again. I knew that the only way out of this situation was to regain my strength so I could best her at arm wrestling. Sharon let me use her weight room when she was at work. Maybe she was just trying to shame me into being more of a man. I tried to work out, but even her smallest weights were too much for me. I just seemed to get weaker and weaker, while she was getting stronger and stronger. For the first couple of months, I challenged her to arm wrestle every so often, just in case. But it was a joke. Even with 2 hands, I couldn't budge her. She'd win again and wink at me, and then she'd reach over and pinch my nipples through my bra. They always got hard as buttons when she did that. Of course, she knew that turned me on, which only increased my humiliation. She'd cluck softly like a hen at me and start to giggle and I'd start to sob. Finally, I just lost the fighting spirit. I finally decided to give in and try to meet her expectations. To go all out and just get it over with. One Friday I not only got dressed, I put on full makeup, set my hair, cleaned the whole house and even made her dinner from scratch. When she got home, she noticed everything and was full of praise for me. I really felt good about myself. I had tried my best and couldn't help beaming from ear to ear when she said, "Charlene, I'm so proud of you. You look lovely, dear, and the house is spotless." "No spanking today?" "No, sweetheart, you don't need one today." "Then, can we call it quits and go back to normal?" "Big mistake." She turned me over her knee and wailed the daylights out of me. I was even more upset than usual. I had really tried this time. What did she want out of me? She must have read my mind. Listen, Charlene. I'm never going to let you be a man with me again until after you have completely become a woman, in thought, feeling, mannerism, appearance. Do you understand? I don't mean just a little play acting one whole day of being the perfect little wife. I mean complete surrender to a feminine way of life, so that you forget that you weren't born a female. When you are as much a woman as I am, then I'll let you go back to being a man. But how long do I have to? No, that's the point. You mustn't care if it's for a day or for the rest of your life. It will just be who you are. That's the only way for it to be real. She saw how defeated I was by this. I was being asked to give up manhood for good. Can't you just trust me? She asked. If you want to be with me, you'll just have to give yourself to this completely and let me decide when enough is enough. You know that I love you. I never would have stayed with you otherwise. I'm doing all of this for your own good, for us. You know I'm in charge now. So do what I say and trust me to know what's best. There was a long pause. I wondered if I really could do what she asked of me. Truth is, I had no idea what being a woman was like. I knew it was more than dresses and lipstick and vacuum cleaners. Again, she read my mind. Listen, honey, if you cooperate, I'll help you. Okay? I decided, yes, I want to be with Sharon, so I'll trust her. I'll do it. I'll try, if you'll help me. Will you do as I say? Exactly as you say, I promise. All right then. We'll start with teaching you to pay attention. You've never been a good listener where women are concerned, never paid attention to me or other women when we say something. So, from now on, whenever I say practice Charlene, you will repeat whatever words and actions I or a woman on TV or any of my friends has just said or done, and not just in a monotone, but with full feeling and expression, and appropriate intonation and mannerisms. And you'll do it over and over until you get it right. Do you understand? Yes. Well, I'm glad that's settled. She smiled at me. Well. She pursed her lips, stood up, patted her curls into place, and smoothed her dress. Then she said, It's been a trying day and I'm going to pamper myself with a bubble bath, put on something pretty, and go to bed. I was stunned by the sudden change in her mood. So she caught me by surprise. Practice Charlene. Oh my God! It was a pop quiz. I had no idea what she had just said or did. Something about getting a snack, I think. I just froze. She rolled her eyes at me and gave me a mild slap on the rear. Then she sat down again and repeated it. Well. She pursed her lips, stood up, patted her curls into place, smoothed her dress, and said, It's been a trying day and I'm going to pamper myself with a bubble bath, put on something pretty, and go to bed. Practice Charlene. I pursed my lips, stood up as femininely as I could, patted my hair, smoothed my dress, and repeated her words. Another slap on the tush. Charlene, you must get the expression, the modulation, the gestures, the spirit exactly right. You must feel it, like a method actress would, as if you were really doing and saying it, and not just copying me. It took 2 more tries before she was satisfied. I did feel like a different person when I got it right, as if it really was me who had the thought and spoke the words. Walk the walk and talk the talk took on new meaning for me during the next weeks and months. Sometimes, it was fun. Like when we were watching Harry Met Sally on the tube and she commanded practice Charlene right after the scene where Meg Ryan fakes an orgasm. We both laughed and laughed at that one. Other times, it was excruciating, like when she had me perform in front of her friends. One of them, Tanya, had come straight over from the beauty parlor to show off her new hairdo. Sharon's friend Miranda gushed, Oh Tanya, I just love it. You look luscious. And the color is just lovely on you. Who did it for you? Charisse? I simply must make an appointment. And while she spoke, she hovered around Tanya, daintily caressing her friend's curls and touching her hand. Sharon wheeled around at once, practiced Charlene. To my surprise, I had heard every word and caught every gesture. I got it right and felt it wholeheartedly the very first try. After all, Tanya's hair was gorgeous, and I had been thinking something very much like what Miranda had said. By this time, I was completely dedicated to my feminization. My body was blossoming. Somehow I convinced myself that it was my bras that were giving me the appearance of having real breasts and making them so sensitive. And my hair was well past my shoulders now. I asked Sharon if I could go to a salon. Not yet. First I want you to learn thoroughly how to set and style your own hair and do your own makeup. When you get it right every time, then I'll reward you with a professional makeover. But as long as I catch you with a curl out of place or forgetting to refresh your lipstick after a meal, it'll be up to you to stay pretty on your own. And you'd better make yourself pretty for me, girl, or you'll be on my knee before you know it. I wasn't afraid of her spankings anymore. It had been weeks. I really did want to become a woman now, at least psychologically and emotionally. I was enjoying myself. A whole new world had opened up to me. I never knew just how interesting and intelligent women were. I was really paying attention now, and trying very hard to live up to their standards. There was so much to learn, too. I took a great interest in homemaking, sewing, crocheting, knitting, cooking, gardening, cleaning, all those things that I used to take for granted or have contempt for. I would get so excited in the afternoons, waiting for Sharon to come home. Making sure I looked my absolute best. I'd been jazzercising for some time now and lost that extra weight, and I was always so anxious to show her what I'd been doing all day and to try out a new recipe on her. We had never gotten along so well before. We had so much in common now. I really did feel like a woman most of the time, and I hated it when I didn't. Sometimes Sharon would bring it home to me just how much I'd changed. For example, after one of my girlier outbursts, she would surprise me with practice Charlene, making the point that I had become a woman worthy of imitation myself. I always smiled bashfully when she did this, but also with a sense of pride. Then, one night, she opened my eyes in a very different way. As we were heading for bed, she lingered by my door. "Are you going straight to sleep, honey?" "No," I said, "I have to put my hair up first, and then I'll do a little crocheting, I think." "Oh, Charlene, you've become such a dear little woman, haven't you? And so industrious, too. I'm really proud of you, darling." I blushed. "Thank you, Sharon. That means so much to me. In fact, I think it's time." "For what?" I was puzzled. "For a reward. You've become so much a woman now that I'm going to reward you by letting you be a man again, but just for tonight." I was nonplussed. What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm going to let you make love to me, just like in the old days." I could barely remember the old days anymore, but I looked forward to that kind of intimacy with Sharon again, so I hurried into her room. She laid herself on her bed and motioned for me to join her. She was so beautiful I climbed in next to her and rolled on top. We kissed and caressed each other with a passion we'd never known before. I felt different than before. I was in no hurry. I was more attuned to her body, her feelings. I felt waves of happiness and excitement coursing through me. I loved Sharon so completely, so tenderly. I wanted every part of my body to find its own language of love, its own way to worship her and give her pleasure. There was only one part of my body that had nothing to say. Nothing. No erection, no throbbing, no impulse to thrust and penetrate. My nipples were like two penises, hard, sensitive, craving her touch, her lips. But my penis was inert. I suddenly realized how long it had been since I'd had any kind of sexual feelings down there. But I thought how disappointed Sharon must be. Once again, she read my mind. I don't miss it, baby doll. You have everything I want already. And she began to suckle my breasts while tracing the contours of my body with her nails. I felt my tresses swinging across my back as I arched my head back in ecstasy. There are so many ways a woman can give another woman pleasure, and she did them all. And I did, too. The next day, Miranda and Tanya came by for a quick workout in the weight room and for tea after. I served them in the sunroom and sat down to chat. So, honey, Sharon tells me that you're officially one of us? Oh, definitely. I said. I've never been happier. That's wonderful, Charlene. You make such a pretty girl, too. Thanks, Miranda. That's so sweet. I try to look my best for Sharon. Ever think about joining us in the weight room, honey? It's a great way to keep fit. Oh no, that's not me. I mean, you girls look great and all, but that's not really my style. I try to be as petite as I can. My lady likes me that way. She's got enough strength for both of us.